with the news on.
Get down. Let me clear my throat. Yeah, that's better. That's better. Somebody pass around the offering. Since I'm always preaching on tracks, you feel me? I might as well get paid for it. Sermon of the day. You right where you supposed to be, baby. Informants informing, that information forming. Important you get a portion of fortune pouring. Confession, fortunately, blessings on now they snoring. You mellow, so focus on scoring. Got you underperforming. I never expect something, never assume nothing. Judging me for my past, but that's why I'm triumphant. I don't demand, I know where I stand like engineer hands. Watch how my life pans. That game plan, show out like a jotter, pop out like a cutter. Telling the quick rock, skipping the course, squares like hopscotch. This gonna be my mood to my beat drop. Putting my boogies, using my diddy boots, can't don't stop. I'ma make the rest of my life live. Yeah, I'ma make the rest of my life live. Gonna make the rest of my life the best of my life. Yeah, I'ma make the rest of my life live. I'ma make the rest of my life live. Gonna make the rest of my life the best of my life. Congratulations on the celebration. I know I'm dope without a need of a validation. No congratulations on no celebration. I know I'm dope without a need of a validation. Yeah, if having hope is dangerous, call me Eagle Knievel. You leading on the wrong side, living with pens and needles.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Sometimes you just gotta let the music play for a little bit. It's been a long week. I don't know about y'all, but it feels like these last few weeks, these last 2 to 3 weeks have been a long week. So sometimes you just gotta let the music play just a little bit, right? Just a little bit. Today's my Friday.
Every struggle and lesson, your issues ain't your oppression. Never got pushing me to progression like I'ma make the rest of my life live. Yeah, I'ma make the rest of my life live. Gonna make the rest of my life the best of my life. Yeah, I'ma make the rest of my life.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Happy Thursday. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Welcome to the Bravo with Sheila Network. I am a Thursday night host, Lady Dawn B. It is an honor, privilege, and a pleasure to be here with you on tonight, this amazing month of May. Can you believe it, y'all? We are into the 5th month of the year. Where is 2025 going? I don't know, but I know I'm going with it. So I hope you guys are doing great. I hope your week has been phenomenal, and I hope, that your day has been well spent. Thanks be unto God, right? For those of us who are, believers, because, thanks be unto God. But anyway, welcome on in, everyone. I am so glad to be here tonight. Y'all pray for me over my puffy eyes. Don't pay no attention to them. Y'all know it is sinus and allergy season, and sinuses is doing what sinus does, and allergies are doing what they do. So we here, right? We still cute. We're going to make allergies and sinuses look beautiful. It's what we're going to do. Why? Because that's just how we do, right? So I hope you guys had a great week. I would say excuse me, but no, we're just going to act up a little bit on tonight. And I am excited to be in the house. So welcome in, everyone. I just want to pay homage to the curator of this amazing space, Pastor Sheila Ingram, my auntie Bravo. Give her a bravo and say thank you for yielding me this captain's chair every Thursday night so I can come spend some time with you, along with our Thursday night squad. So everyone in the building, while we have saluted the Queen, I'm going to check out these comments real quick so we can say hello to the good people. I do see, as always, the greatest moderator in the YouTube streets and abroad to ever do it in the game. She is in the person of Inene Kenya, and we appreciate her so much. Love you, beautiful. Thank you for what you do. We could not be great without you. Absolutely not. So we are so thankful that you belong to us and that we belong to you. We on the same team. We appreciate and love you for always being in place and for being that amazing support that you are. And want to come in and say good evening to my beautiful sis, the Marilyn Jackson. She is in the building, and I always appreciate her. She shows up and supports her big sis, and she be holding her big sis down. She don't play about her big sis, just so y'all know and understand. Tread lightly, because she will come for you if she got to come for you, okay? All right, so we're gonna be kind. I love you, Marilyn. Thank you so much for showing up on tonight. And I ask you, and those who are up in the silent section, the expensive seats, if you would not mind, please, sir, please, ma'am, you are welcome to come down to the comment section. Come on and greet us and say hello, so that we can say hello back. I promise you, it is safe down here. You see what I'm saying? My sister, every time, don't play with it. She be on it right quick. Listen, I'm trying to tell you, I thank God for security. Okay, I am covered on every side. My sister don't play no games about me, and I don't play no games about her. And I love that so very much. That's right. She's so awesome. But those of you who are in the expensive seats up in the silent section, please come on down. Come on down. Come to the comment section. Come say hello. Just come say hello. We appreciate you, and we don't want to hurt you. We just want to greet you properly. We want to make sure to say hello. What a great conversation. Chaos into us tonight. And as always, we press through. So yes, come on down, be a part of this great conversation. We are not we are all inclusive here. We are not a Christian based station, although most of us who do come on, we are believers. So I always say I'm a God's girl, so you're going to get a little Jesus when you get me. But whatever your moral compass is, however you flow, however you move, we want to hear from you. We want you to share your thoughts, feelings, and opinions. We just want you to do it respectfully. That's all we ask. We want to respect each other. We want to have conversation, and we want to grow together. We come here to have real talk with real resolutions from real people. This is not counseling. It is not therapy. It is just conversation. It is dialogue. And we are coming to learn, glean, and just share, spend some little downtime with one another. So we invite you to light up the chat with your comments. Okay. So again, whatever your moral compass is, we receive it, we accept it, we respect it. For me, again, I'm a God's girl. So you're going to get some Jesus when you get me, because that is what my moral compass is. But we're here to share. We're not here to convict, nor convince, nor condemn. We're here to converse. All right. So with that being said, let me see. However, if you do need any type of spiritual guidance, connection, encouragement, inspiration, you can go right across the street, left or right, front or back, doesn't matter. Any direction you go will get you there, across the street to the Sheila Ingram Ministries Network. Over there, you will find great inspiration through music, through song, through word, through prayer. And that is held primarily by the queen bee of this station, Pastor Sheila Ingram. Also over there, you will find my co-host for tonight, who happens to also be my mother, in the person of Pastor Rosa. She's on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. And on Fridays, you will find the dynamic trio, okay? The Three Musketeers ain't had nothing on these women, all right? You will find Pastor Sheila, my mama, Pastor Rosa, and my auntie gangster, Reverend Jenny. They are on every Friday morning at 11 a.m. They are the women of grace, and I call them the women of grace who get us straight. Okay, they will help you fix your life for real. Okay, so tune in, tap in, and be a part of any one of those conversations. And when you're done, come back over here on Monday nights for Monday Beyond the Mic, hosted by Dr. Elaine. And I have the pleasure of being the Robin to her Batman on Monday nights now. So I'm over there supporting as well. We are in this together, having great relationship conversations. So join us. But in order to do that, please make sure you like, subscribe, and share, just so that you don't miss any of these things. Okay. Hit that notification bell so that you can be notified when one of these amazing shows are on. And if not, catch the replay. And the last thing that I will ask, because tonight I want to get into this conversation, I want to bring up my ladies, is that if you wouldn't mind, please, ma'am, please, sir, just tap that thumbs up button. It is, as we say here, free 99. And it costs you nothing, but it means everything to us. So if you wouldn't mind, please, ma'am, please, sir, just hit that thumbs up button every time you log on to this platform. We appreciate it. And it helps us to get our content pushed out into these YouTube streets even further. We appreciate your support and we appreciate your presence. So let's get into this great conversation on tonight. This is the month of May, and we all know that Mother's Day is, the highlight of the month of May, aside from spring, but it is the highlight of the month of May. And so this month, we're going to be focusing conversations on our women. I want to tell you this up front before I bring my ladies up, because I don't want you guys to miss any of it. Tonight, we're going to be talking about womanhood, sisterhood, and motherhood. What does that mean? What do they look like? How can we improve them? Let's talk about it. Next week, we are going to be talking in our ladies' room, having a private conversation. And our topic next week is going to be the making of a mother, since that is, oh, hold on, hold on, hold on. This is good news. We are 24 subscribers away from hitting our 1K. So please invite a friend to subscribe. Come on, somebody gonna act like we in church. Turn to your neighbor and say subscribe. And then I want you to hit that subscribe button and actually do it. Come on, help us, help be the usher on tonight on the Bravo Shield Network. Help usher somebody into the Bravo Nation family. Become a bravette or a brave brother. We are 24 people away. 24, 24, 24. And I said it before. That's right. Theo says subscribe. We just need 24, 2 dozen. 2 dozen. Help us meet our goal by sharing out this live, inviting friends in, and letting them be a part of this great conversation. I am so excited for that 24. If I could be 24 different people and do it, I would do it. But I can't. I can only be me. And we don't want that. We want people to come in and to gather and to be a part of this amazing, amazing family here at the Bravo Network. So please help us reach our goal. We are so close. We're going to get there. I feel like before the month of May is over. And I said before, whoever the 1,001 person is, I'm going to give you a prize. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm going to give you something. We're going to figure out who that is, and they're going to work it out. She's going to tell me, and we're going to get you something. Because you not only did you help us meet our goal, but you took us over. So we appreciate that. So again, for the month of May, we're going to be having great conversation. Tonight, we're talking about womanhood, sisterhood, and motherhood. All right. Next week, we have the ladies' room coming on, and we're talking about the making of a mother. Because a lot of people think that sometimes just having a baby makes you a mother. And if you don't have a baby, but you may have kids, motherhood can come in many different forms and fashions. And I'm just happy to say that my amazing TikTok sis, we call her Happyology. She will be on as a special guest next week, along with the ladies of the ladies' room. Additionally, the following week, we have our men's lounge, and they're going to be talking about a woman's worth in a man's world. Y'all do not want to miss that there. The men folk will be talking about how valuable the women are in their worlds. Let's get ready, y'all. Then the following week, we're going to have a special edition. This one is really near and dear to my heart. And this topic is called Pretty for a Big Girl. That's right. I want y'all to get set because we're going to free some of our thicker than a Snicker sisters, my Fluffy Nation family. We're going to be in here talking about pretty for a big girl. Some people give that compliment. I've gotten that in my lifetime. And, it's really not as complimented as people may assume, because we're just pretty. We just happen to be a whole lot of pretty. Just has to be a lot of us. So we want to talk about that. And last but not least, you know what, you love it, and we are going to give you more of it. The last Thursday of this month, we are going to have our Thursday night Lady Dawn be after dark with our Thursday night squad. Now, it gets hot. We talk, but we take the filters off. Okay. And we just going to go in and have at it. I'm not even going to give you the content of those conversations yet, but tune in, subscribe, and do not miss it. And they says, I love that. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I love it. Look, don't play with it. And Marilyn says, I am gorgeous. Come say it again. I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. All of me is gorgeous. I'm not pretty for a big girl. I'm just pretty. How about that? I want to don't make me, because you're gonna make me go to week number 4 already. I feel myself getting started. Felt like something stirring in my shondo. I got to calm myself down so I can focus on this conversation tonight. So I'm gonna bring up my ladies who are in the building on tonight so we can get this good conversation started. And I asked my mom to come in and co-host in that spot, because she and I did a conference a few years ago with this topic entitled. So we're gonna have mother-daughter time, and then let's see, we gonna bring the rest of the people's up. Hey, mommy, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, beautiful. It's good to have you here. Thank you, co-host, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for the honor. Can you
Of
hear me?
course, it is wonderful to do this. I couldn't do it without you. Huh? The
I was just
internet
saying,
seems to be interneting.
yeah. Can you hear me now?
It's a little it's a little choppy, but it gets better. Um, we'll work through it. You know, we just gonna. Anae says, "Hey, Pastor Rosa," and of course,
Hey,
you know her, you love her. She is one of our ladies' room squad members, and she is our regular Thursday night squad team member. She is none other than my sis, my co-author, my partner, in the person of the Coach Theo is in the building.
Hey,
Hey sis, how you doing?
hi sis. Hi, Mama Rosa. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you.
I'm good, beautiful. I'm good. I'm good. I'm glad you are here tonight. So I got my ladies. We got our ladies in the house. This is our month, and we are going to do it every which way that we possibly can. How about that? So again, on tonight, our conversation, and I just want to share out this live as well. While I am asking y'all to do it, I'm going to do it again. One more again. All right. So while we're on this topic, kicking off the month of May, talking and honoring our women, talking in our women's space. We're talking about womanhood, sisterhood, and motherhood. These three are amazing topics, positions, places that we hold. It takes a whole, it's more to being a woman than just being born female. I don't think sometimes people really understand how much work we really put into being who we are. No slight to you men. Don't worry. June is coming, and that's your month where things are all things men. Okay? All things men. But tonight we're gonna focus on the women. And women, we may learn something new about the positions and the roles that we hold. So I want to first start off with womanhood. And by definition, womanhood is the state or condition of being a woman. The qualities considered to be natural or the characteristics of a woman. So, with that being said, I want to open up asking you ladies, what do you feel or think when you hear the word womanhood? What does that mean to you? What does that reflect? Come on, Pastor Rosa.
Uh, Womanhood. Um, First, it means adult, you know, that I'm an adult, at this point. um, I passed the daughter stage and being someone else's responsibility to now being independent and being independent adult. Um, yeah, that spell describes it, for me. It means womanhood that now, the adult world is open to me. I make my own choices. Um, I just have all this responsibility, for me at this point.
Okay. That's good. All this responsibility means I'm no longer in the child stage of just being a daughter, but now I got to start taking care of me. Come
Absolutely.
on, Theo.
I would say for me, I think it was that moment or time when I transitioned from being a 20, 30 something year old, woman to a woman who now had to mature. I feel like it was at that point that um, I was a different maturity level, right? Where I was, mindful of holding myself accountable, right? Being conscious of how I carry myself and moving away from that, this is just who I am, right? To really recognize that no, that doesn't work now. You grown. You need to walk and talk and act and be and show up as you're grown. And like Mama Rosa said, also recognizing that you need to be accountable for what you are responsible for, right? Like, being accountable for, no, you're not just spending money recklessly, right? You got to start thinking about retirement and saving and preparing for what's coming next, right? Although my 100-year-old aunt just told me I'm an infant, right? In comparison to her, right?
Okay. Guess she would be right.
Yeah, see, I was like, I'm not going to even fight you on that. But I think it meant where there was a shift in my mindset and how I showed up.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I like that shift in mindset and how you showed up. I love it. I love what you ladies are saying and sharing. Let's see what the comment section is saying. My sis Marilyn says, I always think about the 7 stages of womanhood and which stage I am in.
Mm-hmm.
She also says, I think about what stages of womanhood I'm in. I associate it with being a healer and warrior. Okay. So for Marilyn, and I'm sure that most of us and some women, when referring to our womanhood and how we define it, is realizing where I am in my life. And I think it kind of ties into what you said too, Theo, about how am I showing up, from that, how am I showing up now in this adulthood stage? For me, I think womanhood, I'm forever evolving in this space of womanhood. It's not that I hit 25 and all of a sudden I'm grown and I'm a woman and now hear me roar. It's not that I'm a woman now when I hit puberty, because sometimes in some cultures they consider, young girls a woman when you hit puberty and your menstruation starts, But for me, I don't believe that is what dictates the shifting of us to our spaces of being a girl to womanhood. I believe that it's an exchange, and this is just Dawn 101. I believe it's that exchange from immaturity to maturity, and our spaces of shifting. And I think one of you said something about accountability, and I know another one said something about responsibility, and I have to agree with that. It's when I take my independence, into my own hand. My dependence becomes independent to me. Is when I'm no longer looking at my parents or leaning on them as my source and resource. I will still lean on them for guidance, but now I'm not asking them to do something for me. I'm now doing it myself. And that comes with that shift into adulthood. I feel like we don't tap into our womanhood while we are still, I'm going to say this. Yeah, I'm going to say it. While we're still leaning on give us what we need, or like you said, Theo, our responsibilities financially, I got to be able to, I need to save up for my own car. I need to save up for my own apartment. I need to start having my own and owning my own and putting my name on my own. I think those things come along with this space of womanhood. And I'm sure we all have friends or our sisters who just feel like because of age. Now, I'm a grown woman because of my age. But I know a lot of grown women who are older than me who are a bit immature and dare I say even silly, to the point. And it's not to say that they are not a woman. You are a woman, but when we're speaking of womanhood, holding that space, it's like, what does that mean? What does that really look like? How are you sure? And it becomes a challenge, I think, with other women. It becomes a conflict with us because if we're out here grinding and working and holding it down and doing what we do, and you're sitting back, and nobody hating on your game and nobody hating on your flow, nobody listen, do what you need to do. But when we're talking about that space of womanhood, I believe it's about really going out and getting what we need. It is the self work that we do, you know, um, that puts us in that space of responsibility for who we are. You ladies want to jump in?
Yeah, I definitely agree that it is that self-work, but I think it also comes to that point where as women, we're learning to reach back, right? We are holding each other up, right? Like I can honestly say I have a core group of we're sisters, right? We anybody that asks these up, we're God sisters, right? But we all have been friends and met through each other, but for over 20, 30, 40 years. And to the point where since our 20s, we've traveled together, right? Like people are like, how do all 9 of you travel? But that's because we've grown together, right? And so now when we travel, it's different than how we traveled before, but we also have a relationship where we hold each other accountable, right? So they're going to check me with love when I need to be checked with love, right? They cry with me, they laugh with me, they hold me up, right? You know, we're there for each other. We support one another. We're not moving in a space of being jealous of one another, right? When one of us win, we all win. We're excited for one another, right? And to me, I think that's womanhood, right? That is maturing to the space where, you know, I am my sister's keeper, right? And that means I got your back. I'm not trying to tear you down, right? I'm trying to help lift you up.
All right, I agree. We don't tear each other down in womanhood. It takes a maturing, and I get it, you know, and I do respect that because sometimes it's hard traveling with just 2 women, more or less 9. You know, you got to have the right, the right mix, because otherwise that trip is going to be hellacious for everyone. Come on, Mom. What did you want to say?
I love what she said. I really do. I love that. Because that's so important. You know, when thinking about womanhood, I think about my daughters who are now have reached an age that I was at one point, and they are women. And, you know, they're not just my daughters, they are women. They're grown women, you know, individuals with their own personalities. So then I find myself not just being their mother, but also being their sister, you know, because we identify as women now, you know. So it is so important that you have those people in your circle that you're comfortable with. And it's not always your daughters, it's not always your sister, it's not always your mother, you know, because people are people. So that was beautiful what you said, you know, because then I thought of the people that are in your circle. As a woman, it's not necessarily your family, but women.
I mean, I think of me
agree
and
with
you.
that. Thank you, Mom. I appreciate it.
I think of you and I, right? Like we literally met because it was our first time, right? Writing. And I don't even think we met in person for a minute, right? Like because it was during COVID. So a lot of it was by telephone or whatever. But from that date, like we just bonded, right? Like it was supporting one another. This is our first time doing this, encouraging one another, saying you got this, right? It wasn't, you know, one trying to best the other. It was just 2 people that connected and was like, okay, this is our first time doing this, and we're going to build each other up. We're going to support one another, right? And encourage one another. And I just think that's what, you know, womanhood is.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with that. I'm sorry, my internet is acting up a little bit. But no, I definitely agree with that. Yeah, for those who don't know, like Theo and I clicked is a group of how many of it is I think this book was so amazing to me for so many reasons. Is what we wrote together, and I pull it out every week. I do, and I have them all. But Loving You Is Hurting Me. This was the very first book that I wrote in. I think Theo did too. This is this is how precious it is to me that I like keep it with me every single way I go. And there was 6 of us that wrote in it, and all of us had a different story, but it is amazing how we just connected and clicked. And it's not that we didn't mesh with other women, but our connection was just instantaneous. And we really did keep each other going. We it's like, we gonna ride this till the end. We gonna stay on the boat. It was like, I don't want to do this no more, and we just, we weren't trauma bonding. We were really supporting each other through it, and to me, it was an amazing experience when we're talking about womanhood to be. I felt so honored, and for a bit, I felt so out of place at the same time, but I also felt like it was a space where I belonged, and it wasn't because anyone made me uncomfortable, but to be around a group of women, who had so much going for them, to be around so many prestigious, accomplished women. It was like I just felt like I was the new kid in the room, the least in here. I was like, I don't have my degrees, I don't have this, I don't have that. And I said, God, what do you have me doing here with all these other women who are well accomplished and all of that? And he said, I sent you here to learn because this is where you belong. And I was like, where I can belong? I can't contend with these women. Like, what am I doing? He said, I sent you here to learn. How do you expect to grow if we can't get around other women who are willing to be open and honest and helpful? As we're opening the door, we have to hold it open for someone else. And to have this opportunity to not be with one woman it wasn't like one of us was, of the upper echelon. And you talk about 6 women who all beyond dynamic in their own right. I was like, well, shoot, let me get my feelings in check, and you know what I'm saying? Let me glean, learn.
It was a little intimidating. It really was. It was like, I remember thinking, why did I say yes? All right. Am I supposed to really be here? But that's at the moment where you begin to be like, God doesn't put you in spaces and places that you're not supposed to be. And if he puts you there, he's going to give you what you need or give you who you need, right, to help you get through it. And so I feel like he put us together at that point because he knew, I would say for me, there was some insecurities, right, that I had, right, that he knew I was going to need somebody else there to rock with me, right, and that was you.
So I want to ask this question. Listening to, I know Dawn's answer, I think, but so in that group, in that dynamics, as writers, who was most instrumental in helping to shape you guys in terms of being a woman, of a bunch of female writers together? Was there any one particular person that helped to shape you or influence you in that group?
I would say for me, it was Tasha and Dr. Elaine. Because honestly, I met them in a period of darkness. Like I literally met them when I was attending a conference that my god sister was giving. And although I was not like together, I went because I always supported her. And Dr. Sanders was speaking. And I remember ordering her book, right? Pre-ordering her book. And then I remember just following them, right? Buying their t-shirts, following them, keeping in touch. And so I would say, honestly, it was them. Like they really they had me believing that I could do it. Like when they asked me, I was like, why is she asking me to write a book? Right? But the fact that I felt honored that they asked me. And so it made me feel like, okay, yeah, you'll be able to do this. And during that process, I would say it was probably Dawn and Pache that I spoke to most of the time. during the process of writing the book.
Yeah. What about you, Dawn?
That was good. I have to agree with my Theo here. Aside from us holding each other up, I kidnapped Pache as my responsible adult because I knew I was going to need one. I pretty much always need a responsible adult somewhere along the line, keep me in line. So there was many times along, hey, and look who came into the room right now. Dr. Sanders herself. Hey, Monday night partner. We were just talking about you. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. But in that process, it really was, like I said, I kidnapped Pache as my responsible adult because I tried to quit this like 11 times. And each time she would just listen to me like, okay. And she's like, you finished? All right. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna finish this chapter tomorrow. But okay, I'm gonna give you till Wednesday. Extra day. Get yourself together. Like what y'all say. We're giving you your flowers while you can smell them.
Right.
You're speaking very well of you.
Making sure I have my headshot. Right. Did they make sure you have your headshot? All of that. So yeah.
I gave Pache such a, it was such a journey. But Dr. Elaine, later on, as I got to know Dr. E through the process, she is definitely what I call the midwife, and I'm glad that we have. I'm amazed. Yeah. Sometimes amazed, but then again, not amazed because I'm still kind of in awe of just how God has formulated our relationship. She is another one who I connected. I feel like our connection is organic. We walk it out. But we have a click that's kind of innate. I want to say, we are the same. We are of the same. So those would have to be my two as well.
So do you see yourself in a different light? Do you see yourself in a different light? Since have you become the pusher that Pache because he seems to be a pusher, because that was the same thing she did to me. She was like, you're going to write this book, Pache. You're going to do this. You're going to write this book. And, the toughest topic of all, your mother, oh my gosh, but, I'm just wondering, did that change you in some sort of way? Her pushing you,
Yeah.
Did it bring about something, a change or something?
Yeah, I think for me it did. I think definitely helped with some of the insecurities, right? Like definitely made me more confident. Like even to this day, like out of the blue, Coach Pache will she definitely will text me and be like, hey, my Theo, how are you doing? What are you doing? Right. Even with the second book, right? Like I probably would have said no. If anyone else asked me, I would have said no. But because it was Pache and I was like, okay, I trust them. Right? And I think that's important for me too when it comes to womanhood. It's like surrounding myself with people that I trust. I trust with my heart, right? I trust with me. And so I think that's another thing. Like it is like I would say my relationship with them for a little while was probably stalkerish, right? Like I was like following them and buying their books and all of this, right? But I will really say I think the most important thing for me is like I felt that I could trust them with my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, I can agree with Pache. You see, she's so so in my mind. Stop talking about passion. I can agree with Theo that that I really did feel I could trust these women with my heart. And being a new published writer, because, and I don't want to say, talking about this topic of womanhood, sisterhood, motherhood is key and important for me. Because, Pastor Rosa is my mom, she's my biological mom. Like, she literally pushed me out. I am her 404. And the development of our relationship is what prompted this topic to come out. And we did a one-day virtual conference about 4 years ago on this subject. And it was an amazing topic and time. My goal tonight, on one hand, I'm gonna be real transparent, was that I was hoping to get my mom, my sister, and my nieces on to talk about this so that you could see 3 generations of this transition of womanhood, sisterhood, motherhood, because we overlook these precious moments like that, and to have 3 generations. When I'm looking now at, one of my first nieces is looking at now, she's a mom of 3. Like, this is not the same little girl I used to push on the swing and take to church and swear she was my daughter. This is a whole grown woman, and the transition is amazing. And in my saying this, I say that in connection with what you said, Theo, about being able to trust these women with your heart. I'm not really open to a whole lot of women, although I am available to a whole lot of women, in my personal and private space. Hi, Shishi, there goes my niece. Hey, girl. That's my youngest niece, y'all. Thank you for popping your face in there. I love you. She's not a mom. She is now, she's 21, she'll be 22 in July. And, it's amazing just having watched her grow from the baby into this adulthood of becoming a woman, but again, having the 3 generations of us, and even 4, if my niece would have been able to get my great niece on, because sometimes, again, these are moments we overlook, and really when we see it laid out before us, it gives us a better understanding of how we are really accountable for each other and what your legacy looks like, and how important it is that we as women embrace, ourselves, care for ourselves. I love my nieces if they were my own, but being able to trust other women with my heart was something that was really difficult. And I didn't find that struggle with, Coach Pat Shea and Dr. E. It was a willing struggle. It was actually something I was like, I really want to, because, when you're a writer, you are putting your heart on paper. You are exposing is the most vulnerable and intimate space that you could ever give someone concerning you. It is literally your heart and your soul on paper for the world to see, and to be able to trust that in these hands. And I had it safe. Has it pushed me? Have I changed? Absolutely. It has absolutely changed me. The process has made me embrace myself as myself, not stifle or lower my voice. It enabled me, and being around other women who will cheer you on to speak. Like, I don't have to, roll all my R's, and I don't have to pronounce everything properly, and I don't have to, but we can just be who we are in our space, and it adds to the space that we're in. They make room for that. So it led to self-acceptance. It led to self-security. It led to the desire to want to come out of my shell, and like live out loud and in color, I'm woman, hear me roar type. And also, lastly, it changed me in the sense that I am not afraid to be corrected, because I know at any I'm with women who will pull my coat like, sis, that's not, that's not how we do things. We're not, that's not becoming, or, however, it's not very demure, but however we need to do it, we are in a space where we can direct it in love, and really stick with each other until we get there. So that's
Yeah.
how it changed me. You know, I want
That's,
to share. You wanted to say something else, Ma, or I wanted to share something else?
No, it's just saying,
Okay.
it definitely
So I
changed
wanted
me.
to just share this before we move over to sister. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mom.
No, I was just saying it definitely changed me because um it just, just writing about topic of your mom, which was the book that we wrote, which and it definitely I had to confront my fears as well as my pain. And yeah, Pache is a pusher. That's she, and I'm glad that she did it because then it made me address the writer in me as well as all my, fears and things. Yeah.
Mama Rosa, were you in school at that time when you were writing, or did you decide to go to school after that?
I'm always in school.
Okay.
She's
Yeah,
literally
I
always.
was in school. I was in school. Yeah, I just started my doctorate. Yeah, I was.
She's in school more than school is in school. Dr. E said, not demure. Yes, yes, it's not very demure. Y'all come on in and enjoy this conversation tonight. Y'all know anything happens on Thursday nights. We have an amazing conversation, just enjoying ourselves, talking about womanhood, sisterhood, and motherhood in this month of May as we prepare for Mother's Day. And we want to be an encouragement and inspiration to some other women. We also want to bring maybe some thought processes or some considerations to us as women and ladies on how we connect better, what the importance of this thing called womanhood. We are not each other's competition. We are actually each other's complement. And if we ever get to that place, just imagine how much better we will be. We are better together, and that is God's honest truth. Um, we should be celebrating and cheering each other as women.
Yeah.
When we see a woman well put together and coming through the door, we shouldn't be jealous, envious, or angry. As women, we understand what it takes to put all that together. So it's like, I salute you, sis. Come on, show up like you need to show up, like you belong.
But it's
Do
crazy.
that. I ain't mad at you.
But it's crazy though, because I have like I don't have a problem saying to someone, "Oh my God, that's a fierce outfit," or "Love those shoes." But it's amazing how a lot of women will receive it, but some will look at you skeptic, like they're like, right? And I'm like, it's just for me, like you said, if I want to make you feel good, right? Because the other thing I would say, you never know what someone is going through, right? So that compliment or that hello could have just changed their day, right? So I just I feel blessed, because I will say, although I joke around a lot and I be like, I don't know why people like me, right? I feel blessed that people do connect with me, that they are drawn to me. The only thing is, like, for me, my spirit has to click with you. So sometimes it might take me a minute, right? Because I'm trying to figure out
Right.
what's going on. But I just love like that. I know that there are people rooting for me, right? I know that my name is being spoken in rooms when I'm not even there, right? And I'm not concerned about what's being said, because I know the people who are speaking or whatever, because somebody will be like, oh, Trey said this or that person said this, right? And so it's good to know that you have true sister friends. Like, if you need someone to talk to, you need someone, like I wake up every day and I say, I know, because, right, of my ministry, because I am part of a prayer ministry, because I am a believer. I know, of course, somebody's praying for me. I don't know who it is, but I know every day, one of my sister's
Somebody.
friends, if not more, is lifting my name up in prayer as I am doing for them, right? And that alone just is like gives you some type of peace, right? And for me, that's what womanhood is. That's what sisterhood is. That's just holding each other up, you know.
Yeah, I can agree. I agree, and we all need that community of women that is going to be that to us, and that we can be that too. You
Yeah.
know, I need to be able to be that for you. Dr. E says we have to know the difference between assignment and assassins. Ma'am, don't listen. Don't start. Don't start, Dr.
Right.
E.
I was about to say she started.
Right. She's already, yeah, that's a I see I gotta drink to that.
I want to say something, Dawn, about that.
Yes, ma'am.
It's so funny. You and I were in a ministry that we both, now you're out of it, and I'm trying to get out of it. And something happened, and we both agreed, like we're done. But it's so funny. It was an assignment that God gave to me, and I really, I really want to be done. I really, honestly I want to be done. So I recently got a phone call, and I'm saying, God, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be, I really don't want to be here, but I got a phone call, and I'm like struggling with, what do I do? Because at a certain point, I felt like the assignment that I was given are my assassins. So, I'm still praying,
Yeah.
about it, because we have to show forth, the person who our creator, we have to, example him, because we are in his image, and, and so this is the struggle that I have to stay in the assignment with my assassins at this moment. That's why I was cracking up when I saw that, and it's true. You do have to identify your assignment from your assassins, and sometimes you are going to have to stay in that assignment in spite, you know.
Yep. And learn how to navigate through the assassins. Right?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes your assignment can only be fulfilled with your assessments from the inside. Sometimes you are the difference. You are what's going to make the difference, and that has to be an inside job.
Yeah.
Change begins from the inside out,
Yeah.
not typically from the outside in.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're trying to change your physicality, it still has to start from the inside of you, acknowledging what's happening within you to want to make those changes from the outside. So sometimes, our assignments might be, our assassins. I know for me, it wasn't an assignment. It was a favor. Sometimes my assignment is to make the connection. I can connect people to other people and to what, and sometimes that's my assignment. And I've learned how to get in and get out. I'm like, I'm just making a drop off. This is not, I'm not staying, but I get looped into it sometimes because I just try to be kind and do favors. But no.
Right. So you
Dr.
dropped me
Elaine
off.
says those assassins are there to develop.
The next,
Ma'am, it's really my fault. I followed my orders, ma'am. Dr. Elaine says those assassins are there to develop the next level of you. Right.
Yep.
Even in that, right? You're still on your, I think, like, as long as you're on your assignment, you don't have to worry about the assassin. Because in this respect, like I said, we're not Christian channel, but we are God-based. Those of us who are believers. So that's our moral compass. Whatever your moral compass is, that's what you put in this place of the principle. But God will not give you an assignment to be assassinated. God will give you an assignment, and although there may be, like saying, assassins involved, but He's going to cover you. He carries us through it. So, in that you may have to be, and especially when it comes to women, you may become the norm or the standard example of what that woman of faith looks like,
Mm-hmm.
or what that woman of standard looks like, or what that woman of culture looks like. So sometimes we're set, if we don't go, we who have become developed, if we don't go into these undeveloped, chaotic spaces, how will they ever learn? How will other people ever learn? Someone had to come into our space when we were undeveloped,
Yeah.
and still struggling. But the beautiful thing is, again, we are not each other's competition. We are actually each other's complement when we're talking about being women and this concept or this development of womanhood individually, as well as a group, which we're going to get into, touch on next. But I just wanted to, thank you, ladies, for your input and your shares so far. Thank you, everyone in the chat who is lending their feelings. We want to hear from you as well. Thank you for those who are in the silent section. Don't worry, we know you're there. We see you, and we love you just the same, hanging out. So I want to share that the ideal of womanhood is not defined by relationships, by jobs, by body parts, or anything else. It is not defined by anyone or anything but yourself. So you know your level, your pace of when you make this transition into womanhood. No one else can really gauge that for you and what that looks like for you. And it goes back to kind of what Theo was saying about how we show up, how you shift and how you present, how you show up. I want to pose this question and then kind of give this as well. Because sometimes people think that femininity and womanhood are the same, but there is a difference between femininity and womanhood. Femininity is what a person makes of it rather than the stereotypical, it says patriarchal view of what a woman's role is within society. Others choose to focus on characteristics of femininity and how it informs personhood, not just womanhood. So there's a difference in us having femininity and us actually entering into that space of womanhood. Because we can be feminine, when we talk about resting in our feminine energy, and we can be feminine in about a lot of things and a lot of spaces. We see little girls who are extremely feminine, very dainty. When I was little, don't tell my mother I'm telling y'all this, but I didn't wear pants a whole lot. She always had me in a dress, always had some bows and ribbons. It's her fault that I love sparkly and shiny things. Always had a purse. I was very feminine, couldn't raise your voice, had to pronounce everything properly, cross my ankles, had to, say please and thank you. All the dainty things she raises to be ladies at a very young age. Very feminine. When you pick something up, how you get up, how you sit down, somebody will hold the door, all those things, all the feminine things, all the put your handkerchief on your lap where you slip, all those things that, but I was far from being a woman, but I was very feminine. Certain things when we went outside, we could not do because that's not what girls do. Girls don't play baseball. Girls don't play the basketball. Come over here and pick these flowers. Don't tell her I'm telling you.
It's our secret.
She's sitting right next to me, but don't.
It's our secret. It's our secret.
That's why I don't play basketball halfway.
And so I was the exact opposite. I was like the exact opposite. And I don't know if that's because most of the females were older than me, right? Like my sister, 7 years older than me, another one's 11 years older than me, all of my cousins, female cousins. But I had male cousins that were close in age to me. So I was running with them. I was climbing fences and in the park and, doing like I was with them. So, and that doesn't mean I was feminine. Like, yeah, I wore dresses, but I was like, where she at? I'm climbing a fence with them. I'm out there playing. What's that? The ball, the where they throw the ball at you, dodgeball, and wanting to be a Boy Scout instead of being a Girl Scout because I want to hang out with my male cousins, right? And I think that's really because most of the females in my family were much older than me. Like I was, for a time, I was the youngest female grandbaby, right? And so all of my other, like I said, 7 years older than me, 8 years old. So, and whereas the boys were like 1 year older than me, right? 2 years older than me. So I ended up navigating towards my male cousins and hanging out with them most of the time.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I actually was up underneath my second oldest brother, Donald, like a lot. Like every chance I got to be up underneath him, I was. But even then, and even in those spaces, I still was the dainty, little extra feminine. All his male friends are like, oh, my big brothers. I couldn't get to do none of this. I was, no, go sit down. They propped me up on the wall. You okay? You good? Like I still couldn't do nothing. Still had to cross my legs. Still had to hold, still had to just be there. Couldn't do, but I want to run. No, don't go running my fault. It was just that. So all those little girly things, then you sit there, you play with your doll, like, oh, okay. So I couldn't even do that then. But we won't talk about it. We won't tell mom. We won't tell her. Nope. She worked really hard. People still tease me to this day. She said you have to be a lady at all times. So, if you're upset about the lady that I am, blame Pastor Rosa. Because it's just
in my defense, that's how I would.
There's no defense needed,
Well, if I had a defense.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm grateful.
Oh, okay.
I'm grateful.
That's how I was raised.
No, because
you cross your legs.
You learned how, I think of it like.
Right. If you want to pick up something, there is a certain way that you do. And there's actually a instructor now that she teaches young girls or whatever. This is her thing. I mean, I think it's the most ridiculous thing, but it's there is a way. There is a way that a woman that you should really get out the car without being embarrassed. There's a way for you to sit. There's a way for you to bend over to pick up. It really is. Especially if you have on a very short garment, that you don't want to show what dead weak it is, But like you said, femininity is something that is innate. There's little girls, as you said, little toddlers that show signs of being feminine. Long before they are a woman, it's just who we are. If you're a lady, it shows. But I mean, it doesn't say that you're not a woman because you don't act, the girly and all of that.
And I think that's part of womanhood, right? Because I think there's so many girls who maybe are tomboys, but then at a certain point in life, right? Like I think it was Sister Marilyn Jackson said, right, where there's those stages of womanhood, right, where you go from being that tomboy to now I want to be wearing lipstick and get my hair done and dressing like this and wearing the heels and whatever. So I think it can be defined. Femininity can be defined in so many ways, different stages of your life.
Mm-hmm.
But there are, because I look at the little girls at my church and I'm like, oh my God, look at these little women. Like they got their little purses and they're like whatever, and they're like so proper. And I'm like, oh my God, they're so cute.
Yeah.
So,
and I think a lot of that really does groom you for later on in life, just how to incorporate your femininity into your womanhood, and it helps you within your mature. I mean, it grows again. We are forever evolving in our space of womanhood as life is going on and as we're hitting different stages. But it's so important that we don't lose our femininity and become, so strong and dogmatic that we lose touch with that soft side of us, that those things that keep us gentle are lost. I do want to, because it was mentioned, bring up the 7 stages of womanhood, and then I want to tap into sisterhood. And again, thank everybody for joining us on tonight. And sometimes, people don't want to slow down for these things, but we're gonna talk about it this year. I told y'all 2025, we're coming in on the healthy toxic side. Okay. But the 7 stages of womanhood are maiden, wife, mother, crone, sage, warrior, and healer. I'm gonna read it again, and you can look them up as well in your own time. It's called there is maiden, wife, mother, crane, sage, warrior, healer. Doesn't mean that your life goes in this particular order, but these are 7 stages that we go through in the development of womanhood. And as we're talking, I thought about, like Theo was talking about, the girls' trip and the group and getting together. That leads me into this space of sisterhood that we talk about. Now, I'm a firm believer that just because you do not have a biological sister does not mean that you are not a sister, that you don't have, the ability to be part of a kinship of sisters. If you have a sister or brother, just because if you're only child, it's just you. But guess what? I would say, sisterhood is not based on blood alone. Is defined, the dictionary says sisterhood is the relationship between sisters. It also defined as an association, society, or community of women linked by a common interest, religion, or trade. So there is more than one way that we graft ourselves into this space of sisterhood. When we can come together, as it says, in association, society, community of women linked by a common interest, religion, or trade. That's what makes us sisters. It's different than how my biological sister, my biological sister is my big sister, period. But outside of us being connected by blood, we also have a different type of kinship as sisters in this sisterhood amongst our friends, amongst our group of ladies that we get together with. They are all our sisters.
Yep.
I don't. They put one. Sorry, my internet is acting up tonight. But sister is not just linked and based on you having a blood. We are connected. Our writing group, I know Theo and I, you can't tell me that's not my sis. I'll scratch somebody's ego. You can't tell me it's not my sis, okay? Because we have connected. We are connected, and that's just what it is. And that's just who we are. Our writing group, we text each other, we look out for each other, we pray together, we laugh together. When we can, we going out together. We, matter of fact, overdue for a gathering, to get together. But that sisterhood, that camaraderie is so important. That support is so important. So, ladies, chime in on this now that we've given some definition to what sisterhood really is. Because some women are out here floating around single, feeling alone, and you don't insist. You don't have to be. There's a community of people that are waiting to connect with you. So, what do y'all think about this? This thought.
I will honestly say, for me, because like I said, right, my sisters are much older than me. So as a kid, they were like, here's 25 cents. Go tell mommy you can't find me, right? Because they weren't trying to have me tag around them. So I kind of created my own sisters, which is why I have these 8, 9 girls that like are my god sisters, right? We have a common bond. So that's one of my groups. Then I got my sisterhood of HR groups, right? So right about now, I got probably like 2 or 3 chats, right? There's my HR chat group, right? With my 5 sisters there that we all are in the same profession. right? And we're together. Then I have my 8 god sisters who I've known throughout the years. We've come together by meeting each other through different people, right? And then I have the friends that I've met through other people, right? That they're in my circle, right? And so I do believe that one, not only can we create our own sisterhood and family, right? Blood, like I said, blood doesn't make you family all the time, right? You create that, but I also think another thing is recognizing that for me, I have different pocket of friends, right? We have different conversations in different, like my HR group, we're probably talking about HR topics and politics and what's going on in the world and changes. And I got my friend group over here, and then I got my prayer circle over here, right? And so I think it's also important to recognize that. And this is funny because I just had this conversation with some friends. I used to be the girl that I was like, no new friends, right? Like, I got these people, I've known them all my life. They've been friends with me since I'm 13 or whatever. And a couple of my friends were like, you can't not make new friends, right? And not only did I recognize that, but also I realized that I could not do that because I'm drawing the people and people are drawing to me, right? And so sometimes it's just a divine connection or a natural, link up with people, not with everybody. So, but I think we also have to be cognizant of, the purpose that some sisters serve in your life. I know the sister that I'm not going to go to if I really need to hear the truth. Right? Because I know the sister who's going to co-sign anything that I do, right? Like, right? They're not going to check me versus the sister that they're going to be like, come on, sis,
your group.
Right? You shouldn't have done that, right? That's going to check me in love. And I think that's also part of being mature, right? Knowing that I'm not going to go to the person that's going to tell me what I want to hear. I'm going to go to the person that's going to tell me what I need to hear, right? And so for me, I think
that's good. Yep.
You definitely have to be open-minded. I think that's one of the things for me. I had to learn to be open-minded because if it was up to me, I got these girls over here. I know them since 7th grade. I don't need nobody else, right? But God was like, no, that's not how the world works, young lady. Because that's the other thing. God will put people in your life because they are meant to go on the journey that he has you on, right? And he will also, and I just had this conversation with some people, right? He will also have some relationships fade away, right? And not in a bad way, but sometimes he will need to move people out of your way or out of your life because they're not meant to go where he has you going.
And that's true. I loved everything that you said, and adding. And as you're talking, sitting here, writing some thoughts as you were speaking. One of the things when you're talking about you didn't want to, you said you don't want to make no new friends. You didn't want to more. You got no time, no room, no none of that, but no new friends. And I think I can understand that. I'll meet new people, but I won't make new friends. You know what I'm saying? And because when you're my friend, I take you into a different space with me, and I didn't want that. And like you said, who you can go to for what. And there are, I think, with sisterhood, when we are linking, like you said, with your HR group, and you have your prayer group, and you have your traveling group. I think the beautiful thing about these things and these different groups in sisterhood is that the different group dynamics allow us to have conversations and understanding without explanation.
Yep.
I don't have to explain, like, just how I feel. Like, I do customer service, me and my girls at the job, we don't have to say a word, we just be like, girl, and like, yeah. How we also be like, this customer, you like, right? I had one of those, we haven't even shared details, But because we're doing the same thing, it keeps us connected. And I understand without you having to explain, unlike when I get on the phone, say with my mom, and I might be like, Mommy, this customer today, and she'll be like, well, what happened? I'm like, well, and trying to explain, sometimes, although she listens and she gets it because she was in social services, so she knows, that serving to people. But that's another thing. I think that's important, that we do have these sisterhood connections within the different facets and areas of our lives, because then we can talk and we can express without having to define or defend how we're feeling, because that person has also experienced, what you've experienced. And the only downside, to flip it, I would say, is when we don't, when we limit our circles, when we don't branch out to make new friends, invite new people in our spaces, we actually limit our growth.
Yeah.
Because then we become like, because the fish will only grow as big as the bowl that you put it in, and if you take it, you keep it in this small bowl, it is going to stay just that size because of its environment. But if you put it in a bigger bowl, then watch it grow, and we don't want to be like those fishes in this space of sisterhood, who we never learn anything new. We never see anything new. We never get to experience, life as a woman in any other scope other than what we just see. If I keep just this group of friends who just wants to go shopping, I will never be able to understand what it's like to enjoy, the nature of hiking, or, just going to the beach and sitting by the water. Or, some of my girlfriends, they don't write. They're like, oh, you're writing a book. It's like some of them, I hate to say, well, no, most of them do read, because I was about to say some of them probably don't even read no more, but I'm not saying, I'm not trying to offend you ladies. I'm just saying not this group, not in this season. All my ladies read, but they're like, you write and you do this, you'll do that, but they're not interested in these things. So, me trying to explain to them the excitement and the joys and the stress and the pressure of, like, it just becomes deflating.
Yeah.
Because they can't connect to the experience. And child, I couldn't do that. I couldn't write no chapters, and you do go ahead. Meanwhile, for us, we're like, girl, that was so hard, and I got writer's block, and it just becomes
I mean, I
very
think
difficult.
for me, I feel like I
Dr.
always have
E
to have.
said,
Yep, those are important. Yeah.
divine connections are important. They are. You have to have different circles so that your life, I feel, moves in all directions. I feel like it's the balance. Writing with you ladies is like the most amazing thing in the world, because y'all understand without me having to explain. When I'm like, I'm stuck. Like, my brain literally has no more words.
Yeah.
Like, I can see them across but they're not coming together. Come on, Mom. What you want to say about this theory of sisterhood? And let me tell you, Mommy said something important before too.
Yeah.
When she's saying, she looks at us, her daughters now, and sees us as these women who, we're not just her daughters anymore, but we are independent women, like our own individuals and beings. She has become my sister as well, which is awesome. Even as odd as some people can't say they have that kind of relationship with their mom, where we're sisters and we are mothers at the same time. Like, we're sisters and she's still my mom, and I can respect her, in all these areas. Elaine says, different circles. She said different circles help us level up. Exactly. If I didn't take the time and the opportunity to branch out, to step out, even though, in Fear, one of the books, that was written, Harlem Girls Do It Afraid, doing it afraid, I would have never met my next level.
Yeah.
Like, now, you ladies have helped groom me into even being in this space, because that's kind of how I got into this space, was through the connection of the books. And when
Yeah.
we would come on and, Pastor Sheila would interview us. And then she asked me to come on and co-host. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then here we are, year number 4, and all of that has leveled up. And it's been an amazing journey. And now it's, I couldn't think of any other space that I would be in, but it's beautiful that I have my sisters, with me, this community of sisters. And welcome in Roderick Brown. Hi, how are you, hon? Good to see you. Thank you for stopping in and supporting. Y'all say hi to Rod.
Hi. I feel like for me, I always need to have someone in all of my groups that's smarter than me. Right? Like I always
You
need
always gotta be new kid in the room, right? If you smartest person in the room,
there's a problem, right? Because that's how you grow, right? That's how you evolve. That's how you learn, right? Like if you're the smartest one in your group, something's wrong. There's a problem, right? And so I just feel like we have to get out. I feel like sometimes we just have to get out of our own way, right?
Yeah. Well,
what did you want to learn, Mom?
My view on the sisterhood, honestly, is extremely important to me. I don't like being blocked into an age thing because, trust me, my mind is not my age. And I don't like, I mean, I know that I'm a mother, and I have more children than I could possibly. If I had to feed all of them, I would I would have to hit the lottery, aside from the children that I have, I have as many children as Abraham has children, and it's and I get more and more every day, honestly. But the thing that I value the most, and it has nothing to do with growing up without a mom. It has everything to do with my experiences, the things that I've gone through. And communication, Dawn said something very important. Communication is the key. If I go into a ministry, like I have a woman's ministry, and the key to my having a woman's ministry is my experiences, the experiences that I've had. So if you block me into being a mom and not being a sister, you shut down the sister experiences that I could share, whether this is my daughter that I gave birth to, someone that I met sitting in the doctor's office. You limit me to be able to communicate. When I talk to Dawn, talk to my daughters, I put myself in their place. I'm not really your mom. Because my children have had experiences that I haven't had experience. That I haven't had. But the communication part allows them to feel free to tell me anything, and then I can say, well, I didn't experience that. Dawn and I had a conversation between. She's a single mom. I could have been a single mom. The difference is that I got married before my child was born. And so I said to her, I could have never done, I could have never done that. My convictions would not allow me to be able to, aside from the fact that I was in a committed relationship, and not saying that she wasn't, I'm just saying me, I was in a committed relationship. I was already engaged to be married. I just became pregnant, and in between that, I didn't get married because I was with child. I became with child because I was getting married. And It was a marriage that I should not have gotten into, but I could not see bringing this child into the world without the coverage of and being married. And I didn't ask to be pregnant, I didn't, but I'm just saying I could not share this or talk to Dawn on that level as her mom. I had to talk to her as a woman, as a sister. And I know, a lot of women have they're blocked. A lot of women my age, we missed out because we're so busy being a mother at a time when we need to be a sister. You need to listen to what she's saying, and this is what I'm saying. What was just fascinating to me is that at a certain point, she was an age that I was. And so interesting to me is how she dealt with problems and issues that I dealt with at that age. And then to see how she handled it differently than how I handled it, is really mind boggling. But you miss that if you just stay in the bag of I'm your mother. One of the things that I asked God for was I wanted to have my children early, and I wanted to have my children early so that we could be friends. That was important to me. When you're friends, when in that sisterhood vein, you're able to honestly get into those intimate areas where you would not be able to get into as a mother. And so I think not having a mother really kept my mind open, and to want to be that friend. I'd like to think that my mother was a friend as well, so I probably would have still had that mindset, but I think the key to all of that is the communication, which is extremely important. And I hope if there is someone out there like is my age or someone that will eventually get to be that age would understand it's so important for you to communicate with your sister, your child, your mother, whoever, and if you could, how can I say, understand that our roles change. I have a girlfriend. She'll call me and she'll start talking about certain things, and then I'll say something, and then she'll have a fit. And I said, listen, do me a favor, let me know. Do you need me just to listen in this conversation, or do you need me to respond? If you just need me to respond, say this is just a listening conversation, because it makes a difference in how people listen to us. So I think that sisterhood part is like you were saying, is community, culture, whatever, but it's communication is so important in that.
I mean, I love that because it's funny. One of my girlfriends she posted something on one of the social media sites, and she said, she used to always say to her daughter, "I'm not your little friend," right? But she was like, now my little friend, now she is my little friend, right? Because her daughter's older, she's 20, 21, right? And now, like you said, their relationship is different. They're having different conversations, right? Which is great. I love the fact that I don't have children, right? And at some point that was a conscious decision, right? I decided, oh, okay, I'm loving living this life that I'm living, right? So, but my siblings and my friends have children and have had children for me, I say, because my nieces and my friends' children are my children. And I love the fact that they can call me and I can talk with them. And the only rule I have with them is I'm going to keep your confidence unless it's something that is going to harm you. Then we're going to bring your parents into this. But other than that, like my nieces, my children, they'll call me Auntie Theo, and Okay, and we can have conversations. And I love it because I watched them grow up, right? I babysat them. They were like my children, and I spoiled them like their parents did. But now the relationship is different. And I love the fact that I'm a part of their village, in the sense that they feel comfortable sharing things with me, so that things that they might not necessarily share with their parent, right? They will share with me. And so this way they're covered, right, all around. So I think it is very important to be open to having that communication, and recognizing that they're young adults trying to find their way. And I think part of sisterhood, right, is being that mentor, that coach, that person that, like you said, do you need me to listen, or are you asking me for guidance? And even when I give you my opinion, it's going to be, this is what I would do. This is not what I'm telling you to do, right? But I think it is important. We say to people, like, what do you need from me, right? As a sister, because sometimes I really just need you to listen, right? Sometimes I'm not a big talker, like, unless it's something I'm really passionate about. I'm most of the time listening and observing, right? But I do think that communication is key in every relationship that we have.
I can definitely agree with that. I want to read this comment before I comment more. Dr. E says, on behalf of Harlem Girls, we love you, you ladies. That's right. We love you too. Thank you, Dr. Elaine. All of us that you see, we have all written under Harlem Girls Inc., Harlem Girls Forever. I'm a Harlem girl via the Bronx, but we appreciate the gift of Harlem Girls that has been to our lives, and we love you. Communication is extremely essential, and it is what builds sisterhood amongst ourselves, whoever it is. Because if we can't communicate, we can't do anything. We cannot bond, we can't grow, there's no trust. All of the things that encompass that sisterhood component will never develop if we cannot communicate, if we don't know how to talk. I was laughing when my mom was sharing that story, because I remember that story, like as if it was just yesterday. We were in my car and we were going to the store, going shopping. I'm going something. And or we were coming from, I don't know, we was doing something, and we just started talking, and I was sharing. And one thing I have to say that I love about having my mom with me, people, I don't hang out with everybody. I don't hang out with a whole lot of people. I know a lot of people, but my inner core is very small. My mom is like my best friend. Like, we ride. I call her my rider. Like, we out. People like, really? You hang out with your mom? I'm like, if you know my mom, you want to hang out with her too. And everybody and everybody does. Like Mama Rosa is just, you just love her because she treats everyone like they are her own. We could never go anywhere. We go I don't care where we go. Coming back with a sister. I'm coming back with another sister or another brother, or somebody trying to, well, you just gonna have to move over because your mom she's my mom now. And I'm like, listen, let me tell you something. I don't have a problem sharing with you. I am 4 of 4. Okay. I'm the last one that she pushed out. I ended the thing. Okay. I'm not the problem. It's the other 3 before me that you're gonna have to, deal with. I'm like, not me at all. I know.
I will say, I love the car chronicles.
How to share.
I love the car chronicles.
I didn't have a choice
in the car.
I came in sharing, so I'm not the problem. I've developed a point as say it again for me. I'm sorry, my screen froze.
I said I love the car chronicles. When you guys are in the car, y'all going something.
So for those who don't know what that is, so for those who don't know, just so you know, I make my mother do silly things. She doesn't get this silly with any of her other children except for me. I'm ridiculous. Okay. So I make her do stuff, aggravate her nerves so bad. So when we go out, when we go shopping and stuff, I wait till she get in the car because she can't go nowhere now because she's in the car, she's strapped in, nothing she can do about it. And I would just turn on, I just start going live on Facebook. And I'm like, we had Car Chronicles, Car Chronicles, and I just have her doing all that. One time she was sitting there, she was I don't know if you saw it, she was twisting my hair. I'd say, and if anybody's ever seen me, like I have a lot of hair, it's here, it's like too much, but I have a lot of hair. So she sat in the car. You remember that, Mommy? We were sitting in my car in the parking lot, in front of Panera in the Bronx, in Co-op City. And she was twisting my whole head because I was like, go try something different for church tomorrow. Now, I mean, those pickaninny twists that you do in the middle 2-strand. I said, tomorrow I'm going to take them out. My hair is going to be all wavy and stuff. She's like, no, it's going to be fine. She's pulling all type of hair products out of her bag. I'm like, what are you doing with all of this? We was just going to the store. Like she got the whole bathroom in her bag. And we're having beauty shop in my car. Mind y'all, I am live while all of this is happening. So this was like every single Saturday or randomly a couple of times during the week, right, Theo? We'd be in the car and I just start videotaping and mom starts cutting up. Now you wouldn't think she would because looking at her, she's very dainty, very graceful and all that. But I tell you, I already know, and I don't apologize for it, but I'm sorry, Mom, but I'm not. Yeah, I make her do all type of things. And and it adds joy to my life. And I say I do it because one day one of us is not going to be here, to have these moments. And she's not just my mom, but she is my sister in those moments. I always respect her as my mom, but I love our sisterhood. Even her being here with me tonight in this space. Like who like that in that kind of love, you know what I'm saying? Whatever I'm doing, I want her with me, So the Car Chronicles, we're gonna have to bring those back, Mommy, because people miss them. They really do. But I remember the day she's talking about where we somehow got on this conversation, and I'm grateful. And this is to anybody who's listening, mother, daughters, give yourselves the space. I remember the day I stopped looking at my mother as my mom. I think I might have been about 15. I was either 13 or 15. And I watched things she had gone through. I've seen her in her intimate spaces. I've seen how she's withheld and navigated pain and hurt and different things. And one day I was just looking at her, and while she is working to keep it together for everyone, but I didn't see my mother this day. I saw the woman that she is. And I was like, Mom, like, wow. And I think I even said to her, I didn't realize like you are a woman, because all we've ever known you as is mom, your mom, superhero. But when I stopped and was able to look at her as a woman, I found a different respect for her. Like, wow, you hurt like I do, like you cry like I do, because we tend to overlook that because we're looking at them in the role that we know them as, our guide and our protector. But when I started looking at her as a woman, it enabled me to open up to develop that sisterhood with her that we now have. And I think I know that day shifted for both of us. But the day we were in my car and she said to me, I couldn't do, she said, I couldn't do what you did. I said, well, I couldn't do what you did either, and the reason why it's funny is because like she said, as she shared the story, yes, I was a single mom, I was engaged at the time, my son's father and I were in a long-term relationship, and, it went left, and I was pregnant, and it's like, what was I going to do? I was pregnant. I was having a baby before we got married, and I refused I mean, he still was like, well, we can still get married and do all this. I said, no. I said, nope. You know, my wedding dress came 5 days after I found out I was 3 months pregnant. I got out of the hospital on the day I was supposed to get married. I was like, I'm not walking down no aisle in some white wedding dress with my belly sticking out. What we doing? Where do we do that? And nobody's doing that. That didn't set right with me. I said, no, we're not doing it. And he said, okay. And again, you know, our relationship went left. I couldn't put myself in that position. That didn't set right with my spirit. Whereas, you know, mom had different convictions. But I also watched my mother go through a difficult marriage for the sake of her children and remain unhappily married within herself. And I did for the sake of her children. And I was like, Mommy, I love you and I respect, but I can't do that. I can't sit through that misery having watched you do it and deny yourself the opportunity to be in a relationship where you're getting what you need. You know what I'm saying? If she was my mother, if I was talking as my mother, she'd have knocked my whole head off, you know. But the fact that we were able to be in this space of sisterhood and share, I understood where she came from. She was understanding where I was coming from. Two totally different perspectives, and we have so much respect and honor for each other for what we did. I said, wow, you sat in this marriage for this long, unhappy, to make sure your kids had what they needed. I was like, I don't know that I could have done that. And she said, wow, you refused to get married and took on the responsibility of raising this child, you know, going through and being a single parent, not knowing. But it was the sisterhood between us that really strengthened me as I went through, knowing that I could talk to her about anything and I wasn't being judged by her as my mom. You know, so that makes a world of difference. And in sisterhood, it's important that we have connections of communication where we can talk to each other. What they saying, we listen, but we don't judge. That's where we at now. Like women, we need to do that, but we need to listen and don't judge and don't gossip and don't repeat it and don't tear each other down behind it. Because 9.9 times out of 10, whoever's sharing is being open and honest and truthful about their stuff. And we can't sit and judge them for something that they're doing where most of the time, ladies, we've already done it. We're just not willing to be honest, open and honest about it. So a lot of times we're like, oh, I would never do that. Boo, you know you already did that. That's why you wouldn't do it, because you already did it. You already tried it. But people are willing to be honest. So we have to be, am I right?
No,
right?
I mean, you ain't lying. I mean, I think people have already done it, or first of all, you can never say never because you never know how you're going to react in a situation, right? I think that's important. I know when I was going through therapy, me and my mom, our relationship has been up and down, right? Relationship, all of that. So, and I remember one of my therapists saying to me, you need to ask your mother about her life. She said, just ask her about her life, not in a confrontational way, not in a pushy way, but just ask her to share about her life. And from that moment on, right, I thought to myself, not just for my mother, but for any person I'm interacting with, I'm cognizant of the fact that everybody had experienced something in life that has shaped them. And so it's being mindful of what this person's experience may have been, right? And which for me, I'm big on grace, right? I'm big on giving people grace, right? I'm an empath. I try to control that, but I really am truly big on grace. And I think part of that came from just when my therapist was like, ask your mother about her life. And that to me transcended to everybody. Like I may not ask you about your life, but I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna be cognizant of things you're saying, right? Of how you're acting, because it makes you stop and consider how someone may be acting out, or how someone may be talking towards you, or how they may be, that you are able to step back and say, let me just sit back, listen, and even just ask them, a question. Because sometimes we automatically, at least for me, like I was good for cutting you off. You did something, I'm like, you're done, right? Up here, you cease to exist, right? But then as you
Right.
begin to give people grace and you begin to recognize that this person may have experienced something or going through something that is making them either be this way, accept this, or do that. And then I realized as I went through therapy, hey, some of the things I do, some of the way I act is because I needed to heal from some stuff, right? I needed to go through this journey of healing to find out where the broken pieces of me, right? And so I think for me, I think a huge part of sisterhood also is giving our sisters, other women in our life, grace, right? Like you said, not judging, not having opinions, not saying, oh my God, I can't believe she did that. Why did she stay? Why is she accepting that, right? Because we never know what someone is going through. So who am I to say
Mm-hmm.
why are you continuing to be with this person or why are you taking care of that person? I don't know what you've experienced or what you're going through that's making you stay in whatever situation you're in or act out the way you're acting out.
And that is so true. That is so true. I love and appreciate everything that you said. And I hope everyone has enjoyed this part of this conversation, and that we get something out of it. We don't, again, have these moments. It's not counseling, it's not therapy, but we come together to have conversations because that's one thing that we as people have neglect to do. We don't know how to sit down and talk. And in these spaces, we are able to, communicate with each other openly and honestly. And so I appreciate what everyone brings to the table. Rod says grace and empathy in relationships are important. They absolutely are. Um, I cannot deny I thrive on grace. I really do. And one thing I say, and probably I say it often, and I'm probably to a fault almost. And again, my mom is on here and she can vouch. I tell somebody, you could do everything. I'm like, I understand. I
Mhm.
understand. I get it. I understand. Um, I may not always like it. It
Mhm.
may not always feel good, but again, my mom would say, I'm like, okay.
Mhm.
I understand because I have to give that same grace.
Mhm. Yeah.
My internet is acting crazy today, but the grace that I've been given, and again, whatever your moral compass is, that's what you put in this principal place. But for me, my moral compass is God.
Yeah.
And I know the grace that God has given me through my situations, through my imperfections, um, through my slow processing of things, when I'm trying to get it right. And so, therefore, He reminds me. Well, He doesn't have to remind me as much because I got it now. But
Mhm.
there was a time when something happened and I'm ready to pop off, and God be like, hold
Yeah.
on, wait a minute. But when it was you, how did I treat you?
Yep.
And I'd be like, but God, no, because hold up. But then he's like, no, 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 no. I'm not, no, how did I treat you? If
Yep.
I treated you with grace and gave you grace, then don't you think that person, you may not know, you're not walking in the same shoes that they're in, but they're walking on their road just like you are on yours.
Yep.
Where would you be if I didn't give you grace
Yep.
during your worst moments? And I'd be like, you know what, God, you right. So I have to swallow that hard pill and extend grace
Mhm.
and just take that risk. Sometimes giving grace can be risky. And I think that's why a lot of us don't do it because we're afraid that at the end of that grace period, it's not going to yield the result that we want it to. Like, what am I waiting for? Am I sitting here waiting to be disappointed? Or am I sitting here waiting to move forward,
Mhm. Yeah.
but nonetheless, I'm not responsible for the results. I'm
Yeah.
responsible for my actions in the process. I give grace, like he's talking about, and empathy.
Yep.
Absolutely. We have to be empathetic
Yep.
in all relationships. When we do those two things, it will take us a long way. And the only thing I can say, just to be balanced or to be fair, is that when you're receiving grace and empathy, don't take advantage of it in the
Yep.
negative way. I used to tell my son all the time, I give you grace and you turn
Mhm.
around and do the same foolish thing. I'm not giving you the grace to do the same thing again. Like, what are we doing?
But that's
I'm
where the
giving you
boundary.
grace so you can get it right. Like, do something different.
Yeah. But that's where the boundaries
It's
come
like,
in.
stop making the same.
Yeah. Yeah. But
My boundaries was I wanted to poke him in the throat. That was my boundary. But y'all, I'm reformed now, so I'm better. I'm better. But but yes, thank you, Rod. You are absolutely
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. You have to have boundaries, and you have to stick to them. You have to stick to them. You have to absolutely stick to them, or um, people will continue to do. People only do what you allow them to do.
Nothing to do.
And I think we have to be very honest as to our expectations and realistic expectations and our
Hmm.
standards, and
Yep.
be okay with being honest about them. Because if we don't let people know what you need, what you want, and what you require, you cannot hold them responsible or accountable for not showing up or not giving that in your life. So I just want to read these things before we again. I hope this conversation has been great. I'm gonna make sure you ladies have space to share, final thoughts and comments. But I just wanted to, number one, we didn't get to motherhood, but that's okay, because next week we are going to have a whole talk about the making of a mother. So, we want the women, the men, everybody come back, because we want to open it up so people understand that motherhood is not just about you pushing out a baby. Just like sisterhood is is not just about blood, because we know some than anyone else. So I just want to again say that the true meaning of womanhood is the state of being a woman. Womanhood is not defined by relationships, jobs, body parts, or anything else. It is not defined by anyone or anything but yourself.
Mm.
Ladies, you define and and you can identify your transition from young girl or adolescent into the space of womanhood. And just keep remembering that even in this space of womanhood, we are forever evolving and growing. I'm learning more and more about being a woman day by day. And with each season, the
Mhm.
woman that I am now at almost 56, I just said to mom the other day, we talking, I said, Mommy, I'll be 56 at the end of this year. I was like, I'm closer to 60 than anything else. When you start grouping, you start thinking about it, I was like, who would have thought? And the woman that I am now is so different from the woman that I was 10 years ago. And even
Yeah.
that woman, when I look back, the woman I am now is so different from the woman I was in my, and that evolution in this journey of womanhood to me has become so amazing. And I find that I'm enjoying being the woman that I am more and more. And when you enjoy it, ladies, you'll start showing up differently.
Mhm.
Um, I also want to lastly say, touch on what is the true meaning of sisterhood. The true meaning of sisterhood encompasses a deep mutual connection and support amongst women, transcending bloodlines. So again, your sisters are not just those that were born into your family, but your sisters are those that you connect with mutual understandings, mutual thoughts and affections. It is a bond of love and respect and solidarity, not competition, but solidarity, where women uplift and empower each other. offering a safe space for emotional growth and shared experiences. Sisterhood is about, get this, y'all, it is about celebrating each other's triumphs and providing comfort in times of struggle, fostering a sense of belonging and collective strength. I'm gonna read that one more time. Sisterhood is about celebrating each other's triumphs and providing comfort in times of struggle, fostering a sense of belonging and collective strength. So, your sisters, we are our sisters' keepers. We have to celebrate each other every day, every single day. So, I want to leave final comments to Theo, and then Mom, you can leave your final comments, and then we're going to wrap it up for tonight. So, I want to thank you, ladies. I appreciate it. Come on, Theo.
So, I mean, I just, I agree so much. Like, I think for me, I just love who I am now, right? Like, I just turned 59 on Monday, right? And, just, I took some time off from work, and people were like, what did you do? And I'm like, I did nothing. Like, I just sat, right? And read or prayed or whatever. Like, I always bring my birthday in 12 midnight, having a conversation with God, right? And then I go to bed, and then I get up the next day, right? And I celebrate and I do whatever. But I think it's true that, for me, sisters are there during the toughest times, but you have to recognize it, right? Like, for years, I was like the girl that I had it together. I was doing everything. And it wasn't until I got to the space where I couldn't get out of the depression I was in, to where I was able to text 9 in my core and say, hey, I really need you guys to pray for me, because I really don't know what to say to God right now. And I'm struggling and I'm devastated and I'm just in a space, right? And it was so refreshing to know that I had these sisters that they didn't judge me, where I was feeling like, oh my God, you're so stupid. How did you end up in this situation? How did you know this? Like, I'm beating myself up. And here these ladies were lifting me up. They were encouraging me. They were, calling me, texting me, like filling that void, right? And so I feel like sisters are there for you, not just in your happiest moments. They're not just celebrating with you, but they're there in some of those times where you don't even know how you're going to make it, right? They're there with no judgment.
Right.
They're there with just love. And for me, that's what sisterhood is for me. Like, the people that I consider to be my sisters are, I could go months without talking to you, and we pick up the phone and it's like we spoke yesterday. I literally have this girlfriend. We went to junior high school together.
Just like yesterday.
Right? we went to junior high school. The last time I saw her was probably when she got married. We reconnected on Facebook, probably like, I want to say 10 years ago or whatever. We reconnected. Yeah, about 9 years ago. And we said, let's meet up for dinner. I tell you, me and this girl, we sat down at the dinner, and you would have thought I just saw her yesterday, because it was just, we just picked up where we left off. And to this day, now that we reconnected, we found we both ended up in HR, right? We had so much in common, but now we still don't talk that often because we're both all over the place. But it's nothing to be like out of the blue. Hey, how you doing? I haven't heard from you. Let's catch up. When you coming to New York? When you come, right? So for me, that's sisterhood. Sisterhood is those individuals that understand, if you don't hear from me all the time, don't take it personal, right? I still love you. And when we get on the phone, it's all love, right? It's all love. And I think that's what sisters are. And honestly, I love my sisters, my biological sisters, but people will tell you most of the time you see me with people who are not my biological sisters. Those are my girls. Those are the ones I'm celebrating with. Those are the ones I'm hanging out with. Those are the ones that I'm cutting up with, right? And so for me, I just want to say to people, just be open-minded about the relationships that you decide to enter into, because not everybody's going to be your sister. Some people will continue to just be associates, right? Some people will continue to just be connections. But for those people who are truly your sisters, you have to nurture, you have to continue to nurture those relationships.
Amen. That's good stuff. I said amen. See, here we go. I'm in church. I'm in church already. You gotta foster those relationships. I can't help it, y'all. I told y'all get a little Jesus when you get me every time. It's what you're gonna get. It's what you're gonna get. I don't know what else to say other than amen. Come on, mommy, share your final thoughts and comments. Praise the
Well,
Lord.
amen. Amen. The sisterhood is really a beautiful thing. Unfortunately, everyone doesn't get to share in the sisterhood, because we're so busy being like, crab in the barrel. Listen, we're all going through something and we all need to resolve, and sometimes the best way to find that resolve is to talk to other people. You'd be surprised what advice, you could get. We all are going through the same experiences. We just go to them at different times and whatnot. And I love the fact of being a woman. I love womanhood. I love belonging to that association, that culture, that nucleus, because we get to go in and out of, as a woman, we go in and out of the same thing, being a daughter, a niece, a aunt. We all share in those things. And, it just comes back to being, in that womanhood is character, it's intelligence, it's integrity, all these things, again, that we could share with each other, to help to build each other up. And if we see each other in that light, the whole culture of women would be stronger, because God made us for a purpose, and it was to support, to be that, support. Remember,
Right.
how they rejected Jesus, if I could say that, when he was the stone, he was the cornerstone, you know. And so we got to be careful who we reject, because that person may be the cornerstone to what you're going to need one day, you know.
That is the truth. That is the truth. Thank you, ladies, for your amazing shares. Um, I can't even uh, say much else on on that. I hope everyone found the voice that they resonate with on tonight, and I hope that you've gotten something out of this conversation. It is not just for us as women, but it is for all, for everyone, for us to learn. Always something for us to get, always something for us to gain. And I would just say, I'm sorry, as my laptop is doing a small thing right now. I would just say, as we end on tonight, first of all, thank you, chat, for being present. Thank you so much for your engagement. Thank you so much, Rod. Thank you, Dr. E. Thank you, Ine. Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you for those who are up in the silent sections and watching from the outside. Hit that thumbs up button if you wouldn't mind. Please, ma'am, please, sir. As you enter, you exit, just hit it, like, subscribe, and share. Wrapping up this conversation of womanhood, sisterhood, motherhood, I would just say this. Ladies, let's keep in mind that your womanhood, how you embrace it, how you grow, how you show up. It affects how you show up in sisterhood. When we become confident and whole, jealousy is absent, and the ability for us to celebrate one another becomes present. And we need to be able to embrace that ability to celebrate one another, foster those good relationships so we can grow one another. Your experience that you have is the key to somebody else's survival. Just as someone else's experience before you is the key to your survival. We are better together and we do need one another. So, ladies, in this month of May, I encourage us all to put down our petty and pick up the spirit of celebrating each other so that we can push ourselves further to where we need to be. Let's embrace our womanhood and start showing up in our spaces as confident, secure, capable, independent, respectful, amazing women, because each and every one of us are that and more in our own space. I hope you join us next Thursday night. We're going to hit on the making of a mother. This is going to be real good. And as a special guest is going to be my sister, my TikTok sister. She is known as Happyology over there, but her name is Veranda Bellamy, and she is a well sought after mental health expert. However, she's not coming on in the capacity of a mental health expert. She's coming on as a mom to help us walk through this process of motherhood. She's going to share. We're going to talk. It is the ladies' room next week, so we're looking forward to all of our ladies, your regulars, Ms. Risha, Dr. ND, Lady Anitra, everybody. We're looking for all the ladies to be back. Pastor Rosa, of course, Coach Theo will be in the house, and me, your girl, Lady Dawn B, will be here to kick it off with you for another amazing week in the month of May. I hope you guys are enjoying and celebrating this spring, preparing yourself for summer. Again, we have amazing conversations this month. We got the men's lounge coming up after the ladies' room, talking about the worth of a woman in a man's world. Then we're going to have my favorite topic for this month, and I'm going to be real and raw about it. And that subject is pretty for a big girl. Be prepared to hear some truth, y'all, okay? I'm not apologizing up front. I'm bringing all the toxicity so we could be healthy about this thing. And last but not least, we're going to turn the corner at 8 p.m. on the last Thursday of this month with After Dark Relationship Talk with the Thursday Night Squad. Be prepared to be ready and real on that night. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining us. I encourage you to go be great. Have a great Friday. Have an amazing weekend, and we'll see you next week. Tune in on Monday nights at 7 p.m. for Dr. Elaine Mondays Beyond the Mic. I have the pleasure of sitting and co-hosting over there. So thank you for joining. Ladies, hang out with me for a minute as we close the show.
That information for me. Important you get a portion of fortune pouring. Confession, fortunately, blessings on now they snoring. You mellow, so focused on scoring. Got you underperforming. I never expect something, never assume nothing. Judging me for my past.